Hello everybody. This is another episode of Waypoint Web 3. This has been a safe space for all discussions about Web 3 gaming that's been kind of set up by Sanctor Capital and United Gamers. My name is Ilya. I'm the host, and I'm one of the co-founders and partners at Sanctor Capital. We invest and back early stage teams in the Web 3 space working on all things metaverse and gaming. And so yeah, it made sense for us that we wanted to have the space where people can come in, discuss, learn, educate, because there's so many things to kind of discover and talk about in this space. Before we get started, a few things that I do want to mention. First of all, nothing you hear here is investment or legal advice. All of the opinions are my own, and you may hear names of companies and/or assets where we have had positions, have positions, or may hold positions in the future. And to be clear, we have backed United Gamers, and I think that gets me through all of the kind of the official things I've had to say. This is a recorded spaces, so you will be able to listen or re-listen the conversation in the future, and you can go back and listen on YouTube to all of the previous episodes. So let's get started. We have a lineup of awesome speakers today, and to get started, I would like to have all of them introduce themselves. So I'll call on you one by one, and if you can kind of just say your name and how you got into the space and what you're working on now, that would be great. I'll just go across my screen. Britaria, you can introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Joseph Rubin. I'm the CEO behind Britaria, which is the sequel to the game Legends of Aria, which started development in 2013, released initially in 2020. And I got in this space, a few years ago. I've kind of been in and out of the space, looking in from the sidelines during the last bear market, but my background's in entrepreneurship, and I just saw huge potential in the NFT gaming industry, and that's why I'm here.
Awesome. The Wake, you want to say a few words?
Hey guys, hey Ilya, thanks for the opportunity. It will be great for me. And it's Summit, CEO of The Wake, what we're doing right now using Norse mythology and creating MMORPG in Metaverse. Uh, if I introduce myself about the background, I work with the CD Projekt Red and part of the Witcher 3. One of advisor for the Elden Ring and work with the Namkai Bundle. A lot of experience I have about the RPGs. So here we are today, running through the wake for 16 months. It's like that. Thank you.
Awesome. Isaac, you're up next.
Thank you, guys. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. This is Isaac from the Elysium team. We are a AAA game out there with a little more than 1 year in development. I joined into the space recently this year when I started try to invest me a little bit into the crypto. But I was previously working in the Web2 space in the gaming industry. So I got recruitment from the RCTAI team, which is the mother company of the Elysium this year, by people that insist me pretty much to join and to the Web3 space. So I was pretty curious about the Web3 space future. So with all my previous experience in Web2, I decided to jump into the space in a full-time position here on the Elysium. So that was the reason I'm here talking with you guys. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Vincent?
Hi, guys. Very nice to connect with you all. Thanks for the invitation, Ilya. I'm Vincent. I'm from Darewise. Darewise is a game development studios spread across Europe and the world. Actually, we are about 100 people now, composed mostly from AAA game veterans building our fiction-based gaming metaverse called Life Beyond. I joined this space about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I was introduced by friends of mine who were lurking into the Bitcoin space for a while, and yeah, and I see so many tremendous possibility in this Web3 space. Not only for gaming, but mostly for as this is our prime subject and topic. But I'm super excited by the future. Super excited by the learnings that we have so far, and continue to have interacting every day with the community and with other builders as this crew. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you. El Madelman.
Hello, guys. My name is Oscar, and I'm the game director of Synergy Land, and it's an RPG game. We're building it for almost a year already, and I joined the Web3 space actually 1 year ago as well, because I always liked the new technology, and I saw great possibilities and great ways to learn new things in here, and it looks really interesting, and that's why I decided to give it a try.
Awesome, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Christian.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, at least from my side. I'm the game product manager for Mythic Protocol. Basically, I am responsible to lead the team to deliver the game. And before Mythic Protocol, I actually led an indie game studio developing a game called Retrograde Arena. It's an online multiplayer shooter game for Switch and PC. And we actually won an international award from Level Up for that game. After that game, we actually got acquired by a studio in my country. And right now, I'm working on Mythic Protocol. Right now, for Mythic Protocol, we are working on, in short, a roguelike Diablo with guns. And really excited to talk here with you guys here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, all the speakers, for introducing yourself. As everyone might have guessed, we're going to be talking about RPGs in Web3. And so I want this to be kind of a free-flowing conversation. I'll throw out some topics and some questions, and everybody can jump in. If everybody's really shy, I'll start picking on people. But usually we get some nice free-flowing conversation. So to get started, it would be great to hear from kind of your perspectives what makes RPGs so appealing to gamers, and what Web3 can add to the genre from your perspective.
I can start maybe. I think it depends what kind of RPG. Because for me, there is two kinds of RPG, the story-driven ones, and the ones that are more like Diablo, which are based on the progression of the player and the drops and building your character and having better weapons. And this is the kind of RPG I like, and I think a lot of people like it too. And the Web3, what we are building and what we like RPGs on the Web3 space is that having things suddenly becomes a big deal, right? Because you can have a sword that in a normal game is just a sword, simple, but in the Web3 you own it, right? You can do whatever you want with it. You can trade it, you can gift it, you can sell it. So suddenly the hunt and the thrill to finding new items, it suddenly becomes a super big deal, right? And I think that's one of the things people like from RPGs, right? The RNG of the drops and the thrill of getting best items or best in a slot items.
Yeah, totally agree. It's a good. Maybe from my side, what's really makes RPG interesting to me, and why is it very compelling, despite from JRPG or RPG like Diablo, is the progression, because we are spending a lot of time progressing through the game, and we become stronger. We look cooler, and felt that all the time and effort you invest in the game is really worthwhile. And what I think what Web3 can unlock for this RPG is, imagine in the usual traditional RPG, you spend hundreds of and thousands of hours for a character in the game, you become attached to it, and then the item is gone when the game is out of service. But right now with NFTs, you can actually separate the item and the game, and now you really own the game. You really have it on your wallet. And the second one, because we have this blockchain technology, we can bring real legacy to the items. So imagine you spend tons of hours clearing dungeons, defeating bosses, and doing massive raids. But right now, the history is not written. At least in Mythic Protocol, what we want to unlock is we want you, the player, to write your own legacy with your actions. So when you defeat a raid boss, it will be written on a blockchain that you indeed defeat this boss. And after defeating this boss, your agents or your characters will gain spatial trait that make it stronger. And every action can be recorded and become a real legacy. I think, yeah, that's from my side, and it's really interesting to see from the others.
You know, I believe that MMORPGs are the most immersive games that you can play. You know, you dive into these worlds, and there's just so much to do, so much that you can invest in. As Christian said, the progression system, feeling like you're making improvements and getting towards that end game. It's something that a lot of other games lack, you know, but it does require time commitment. You do need to put in the hours in an MMORPG rather than a casual game or like a battle royale. But Web3 brings a lot of good possibilities to MMORPGs. There's always been demand for real money transactions in the industry. You know, in games like World of Warcraft or going back to like RuneScape, you know, everyone's, I think, at some point tried to buy or sell some digital assets in the game, but the companies have always cracked down on that, given all the policing that needs to go into real money transactions. But NFTs and the advent of this blockchain tech allows us to enable those transactions rather than crack down on them. So, yeah, that's why I'm excited about this tech.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, okay, you know the MMORPGs, everyone like it, and RPG actually you can find the dynamics, all the genre. So every game genres we can say like kind of RPGs, and guys, before the blockchain and the NFT system, these hardcore gamers making money with their selling their items, their accounts on eBay and the Amazon, and it's not legal, like Ilya mentioned. So blockchain, it will be best way making it legal, and you own the everything. You will write your legacy. It will collecting by the datas, and it's great opportunity for the business plus the players. I'm always thinking like that. And for the blockchain, limit is you. Actually, you can do what you want. There is millions of opportunity for the players and the companies, for the studios. Actually, I'm always thinking like that because of we are here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of things that was said prior are extremely true. Role-playing game is definitely a genre that excites a lot of people because they can immerse themselves in a new role. They can almost have a second life. They can almost have another identity and really, really, play with it. And actually, playing or video games like MMORPGs can actually be more than just for fun. They can become your life. You know, people get married through playing World of Warcraft or those massive MMO games. I think ultimately what the Web3 uh, uh, technology and ecosystem will bring is not only the true ownership of your assets, but it's also the the capacity to more freely interact with other players. I think one of the things that we are extremely excited about with blockchain and blockchain technology is the permissionless composability of smart contract that truly enable player-driven economy where player-to-player interaction, player-to-player trading and exchange and sales is driving the whole economic system of your role playing game. And what we're trying to build at Life Beyond, with Life Beyond, is truly a game where everybody can be whoever they want in this fictional world. Because one of the limits that I see in many traditional Web 2 games and Web 2 MMOs is that you are you only have one archetype of a player. You always have to be the hero. If you can choose different class, you can choose different races of character, but ultimately your role is to go farming those dungeons and kill those dragons. But what if I rather want to spend time crafting item for the others, or fishing and selling my fishes to on marketplace to the others? And I think that there is truly a chance here to open up those gates for anyone to become whoever they want in this world, in this fictional world, and be true by the word role playing, that you can play any role you want in said world. So this is really exciting, and I think Web3 will allow not only the free trading economy and the true ownership, but also the composability of contract to truly run those storyline based on players to player interactions.
Amazing share, guys. Yeah, I agree with most of you. Basically, most of the reason, just like Vincent said. I think just as a concept, why these RPGs are pretty good for everyone. That I think we need to add here is just we can play whatever we can play, like some fictional characters that's usually they are the heroes, or they are something that we cannot be in our personal life, which always wants it to be. So that's the reason of we are allowed to do whatever we wish to do. It depends of the history, or the narrative are behind the game. But yeah, basically, it's I personally love the RPGs because I can explore some like different worlds. Like in real life, probably that's not going to happen. And we can play it like if we just create a movie and we can play the movie by our own. Even recent games can have different histories behind it. It depends of the how we act in the game, and we, for example, in Delicium, we truly believe in that. So it will depends of how how is going to be your performance about the game. You can just create your own narrative, and there's so much items in the ecosystem that can create different history, and always a different history powered by your experience. But if we add, for example, something that we are very much experiencing in a company, like the artificial intelligence in here, this is going to be a different item to explore and to entertain in this role for us. Yeah, that's it.
So I'm gonna jump in here with kind of a little bit more of a controversial question, I guess. It seems like RPGs are great. They're immersive. Web3 brings this kind of concept of ownership. I really like Christian's idea of provenance, right? I mean, making things collectible and giving them kind of a history and a past, especially given kind of the nature of questing and all of the things that happen. But then why is there so much pushback from traditional gamers for kind of the Web3 approach?
Ooh, this is really, really interesting because my background is like from Web 2, and I have a lot of friends from traditional publishers. So before I went to an event, right? So I talked with a lot of traditional publishers that, yeah, they basically sells game to traditional gamers. In short, they know what traditional gamers want, right? And after talking to them, I came to a conclusion that gamers don't actually like it because they are basically all the bad actors out there, like the rug pulls and the media only showcasing the bad stuff and really the good ones. And maybe gamers don't know about the what you called it, the utility of NFT and other stuff. And dealing with this, I think dealing with this would be similar to what we have in Web 2, which is the advent of free to games. In the beginning, there are a lot of pushbacks. People I just want to buy the game. I don't want microtransaction and stuff. But then Web2 games become better and bigger. And right now, even bigger, much bigger than traditional and premium games. And I think, how do we deal with this? I think right now, what we can do is the same with Web2, which is to make the best game that we can make. And I do believe the players will come. Thank you. I think that's from me.
I think I agree with 100% with what you said. Like the problem right now is that there has been a lot of bad experiences for people that try to join the Web3 world, right? They come really excited for new things, for new games, and you find out that you got scammed, right? But our job now is to as Christian said, like to make the best games we can do, and the players will come, right? Like, to be honest, make good games, make good experiences, make it have fun, and the players will come definitely. But also, people is always afraid of new things, right? It doesn't matter if they are good or bad. If they are new things, people tend to not like them, as it happened with the free to play, right? Like no one wanted free to play, or even with MMOs, right? RPG MMOs. We were used to pay a monthly fee for MMOs, and when MMOs became free, everyone was like, "Oh, this is gonna ruin MMOs." But if today you make an MMO where you have to pay monthly, you will have no players, right? So I think it just needs time. People need to see that good games are coming to the ecosystem, and as Christian said, players will come.
Yeah. I'm thinking there is two solutions for us to aiming the Web2 players, especially about the MMORPGs, because these guys is like spending 1,000 hours for playing MMORPGs, and they have kind of barriers. So we can crash that barrier with these two solution. First one, we have to impress with the game, because these guys don't have idea about the blockchain, NFTs, how it work, how can I earn. It's possible that they don't have any idea about the blockchain and the Ethereum, the Bitcoin. It's possible. So first solution, we have to impress with the game, with the gameplay, with the combat system, skill system, etc., etc. And the second one, we have to keep the integration very, very easily. And the sector, guys, is open the upgrade and is so new. The GameFi and reputation for last 1 year is not looking okay for because of some projects, and crush the barriers for the Web2 players. We have like two solutions: impress the players with the game and keep the integration very, very simple. So making some tutorials, how can you open MetaMask? How can you take token from the JAX? These guys don't have any idea. So it's possible to educate them. This is the first reason for we are the Web3 metaverse game. Actually, we have to educate these guys, because MMORPG structure is very, very different other than different genres. It will be hard, but we agree about one thing. The future will be Web3. It's very, very possible, and it's shining. So let's see what happens. And I just mentioned, like, still don't have like 100% net and the success rate in the Web3. We saw that every project has different way. Because of that, the Web2 players kind of afraid to jump in the Web3 directly. But if we provide the a Diablo, probably they will jump in the Web3 because the gameplay. For me, there is basic and two easy solution, and I agree with the guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have hit on it, but essentially, I think the reason we get so much pushback from traditional gamers is that the terminology of NFTs has been tainted by a lot of the bad actors in the space. So when people hear the word NFT, they immediately think red flag or scam, and they don't see the benefits behind that due to the media pushing the narrative of NFTs being scams rather than educating them on the benefits that it can add to their gaming experience. But another reason for pushback from traditional gamers I do think I believe someone mentioned it as well. It's quality of these games. So the Web3 games that have been released thus far and that are out there, they're just not up to the standards of the the gamers or the games that these people want to play. And so I think that'll change over the coming years. We're working on a great game, and I'm sure others in this chat are focused on fun first games. And in order to onboard these traditional gamers, we're trying not to use any of the terminology in our marketing. So you'll never hear Britaria as a blockchain MMORPG or an NFT game from us moving forward. Other people might mention that. And then another thing is just, we're not going to try and push the tech on them. We're going to keep it in the background and just make it an option. If they want to sell their assets, they can mint them as NFTs, but if they don't want to deal with that stuff, they shouldn't have to, and they shouldn't have to do any crypto learning if they just want to enjoy the game.
Yeah, I very much agree with what Victoria just said. I mean, it's for me, it's fun first. It's building a great game and making it as seamless as possible for anyone to join and do what they want in the game. If they are not interested in true ownership, if they're not interested in the economic and commercial aspect of trading assets, so be it. It's fine. They shouldn't be punished for it. Um, and I agree also very much that because this is a new ecosystem, we it's easier to um, rely to it through a very complex terminology and where blockchain and use NFTs and use all those terms that are really barbaric if you're not into it. And when you are a gamer and you just want to open up a good session with your friend, you shouldn't have to go through that those steps and hurdles to actually get there. And so frictionless experience and fun first will be the key to unlock the full potential of Web3 and welcoming the larger gaming community into it. And ultimately, it takes time. I mean, building great games takes time. Even more so if you put your standard as AAA. Um, I can guarantee there is no AAA made in a year or two. It's almost impossible, even with a very experienced team. I had the chance to work at Ubisoft for a few years, and even the yearly release of a game such as Assassin's Creed take 3, 4, 5 years, even more, even sometimes more time to be fully developed and shipped to the public. So I think we just have to give ourselves time and to come with great experiences and fun moments and amazing stories to tell.
Wow, that last point that Vincent just told, it's pretty amazing. That's huge, to be honest, because yeah, there's something that we're facing right now in the Elysium with this genre that we really would like to push a lot with our audience. We've been learning a lot in our development because we have different ways of entertainment here inside in the Elysium. So, well, I will talk just a little bit about this concept of in why this is a little bit pushback, because even Web2 games, it's kind of hard to develop these RPG games that generate this type of addictiveness into the game. So we have to aim into that experience to be as better as much as possible. Like we can name different examples. For example, in the Web2 games, like how GTA 5 is doing so great in the role play mode. For example, we should learn a lot of different games in the Web2. So yeah, basically the Web3 adoptions in this game mode is going to be a little bit hard. We need some times to it. We need developing the best experience up there. Just as a casual gamer would like to know, that's the people that has been in the space so much time usually don't take a lot of attention into this. But for example, I'm quite new in the space. Like if we just consider that I joined the space this year, but that's something that I just be aware since the beginning of our game. So inside every experience needs to have different environments, different items inside the experience. So we, for example, truly believe that our experience will be powered by AI. So it's going to add something new into the ecosystem. So the game could be not as finite like other games. Needs to be more open to the different experience. So when you play the game, it needs to feel like the game is every game different. Every time you play is going to be a different way to play it here. So you're not going to be bored about it. That's the way of entertainment here. I think.
One thing I keep hearing is we need time and we need to educate gamers about kind of all of the interesting and powerful things about Web3. But what I'm curious about then is how do you reach gamers, right? Because when I go to some of, when you go to some of the traditional Web2 gaming conferences, I don't see a lot of Web3 games. I was just in Lisbon for Solana Breakpoint, and that might have been one of the first times I've seen kind of a dedicated gaming event. Solana hosted game day. This is one of the first times we could go into a venue and like test play. I don't know, there's several dozen games. Generally speaking, Web3 games are a little bit more isolated from traditional gaming environments. They're not really out there at traditional gaming events. How do you reach gamers? How do you kind of take advantage of time and actually bridge the gap? Who's going to be the brave person, or do I start picking on people?
I got it. At least for us, we're going to focus on a lot of, traditional user acquisition methods. So paid ads, we're going to look at platforms that gamers are definitely on, like Reddit, and try and target them there, as well as just simply Google ads. And yeah, aside from ads, one of the biggest ways that I think will drive users, and I think one of the biggest ways to just drive users and adoption for the whole space will be esports. We're going to try and put on esports competitions for our game and try and break into the esports industry. And I think once you see, a Web3 game at a major esports conference or event, that's when things could get taken to the next level, given how big that industry has become.
That's a very interesting proposition. I I was lucky enough to spend 3.5 years at ESL. I don't know if that rings a bell for any esports fan, but this is one of the major esports organization company in the world. They are doing most of the majors for CS:GO and Dota and all that. And funny enough, I think you can drive with these sports. You can drive a lot of eyeballs to your game, but not necessarily a lot of players, which is very different. But anyway, happy to discuss further if you like. I mean, we've tested a few tactics to engage with a larger audience. Obviously, we did ads in all sorts of medias, from Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, and so on. They worked quite well to attract a larger audience in terms of personas. We're doing a lot of work with influencers as well, both because some of the influencers, gaming influencers, are just interested in game in generals, and they don't really matter what is the technology behind it. So we were lucky enough to have a playable over the summer that was super easy to access. You just had to go on the website, download the game client, and play. And so we had tons of fun with influencers, and we haven't yet found a new distribution methodology for our game that can go over and beyond. I mean, obviously we're looking at what Steam and Epic Game Stores and all those distribution platforms are doing, to be ready when time comes that they welcome Web3 based experiences. Um, and we are in the meantime doing some tests with new, specific Web3 distribution platforms. It's interesting to see that they can drive traffic, they can drive users. Now they are not necessarily Web2 users that convert to Web3 yet. They're mostly Web3 users. So, yeah, still a lot to discover. And one of the things that we are about to present is to go with different mediums. So rather than to focus only on a gaming experience, we also want to introduce the world of life beyond through podcasts and books and those kind of things. So we can maybe find some new users in those medias.
Yeah, we all agree here that this kind of hard for everyone to gather a lot of information from Web2 people and to bring them into the Web2 space. So, yeah, as everyone mentioned here, just we have experience with different ways or tools to bring these people in here. For example, in our case, we've been trying with different ads with other games that we have. The mother company of the Lyceum has another game which is called Mirror World. It's a mobile version of a video game, but basically it depends of the people, the target audience that we are exploring here. For example, if we are talking about mobile devices, could be a little bit more interesting, or a game that doesn't require a specific amount of hardware requirements. So it's going to be the adoption of this game could be easily for a lot of games, a lot of gamers. I mean, so in the case, for example, about the Elysium, where it's going to be a little bit hard, but we've been trying different ways for sure into the with creating this influencer strategy has been pretty decent for us, but we need to develop a set of tools in every area that we need to discover. Like, yeah, Victor just mentioned it. With podcast, for example, should be an option, but podcast influencers in ads, but everything is going to be a pretty easy way to more people if we generate content. I think content is going to be the key. Like what to like the marketing key for to create a very decent product on Web2. If we just focus in create decent content in our platform, or we just need to set the strategy to distribute this specific content into the traditional gamers, so we can onboard easily in different ways. But so we need to take advantage of every Web2 platform here, just to distribute this content, so we can just have a pretty good content to attract pretty good people for whatever platform it is. That's a way of we are developing here the plan.
Yeah, maybe to add from me. Sorry, I was disconnected a bit with Twitter and the web. So for me is I totally agree with it's hard for Web2 gamers, the traditional gamers, to actually play our games. They are not really known for our UX, and Web3 UX right now is not really friendly for now. And I think the approach first, the approach is how to make it easier for them to play, which is the distribution. I really agree, and maybe they can have NFTs, but on their custodial wallet, which means they don't have to create MetaMask. They can just fire up their game from their mobile phones and just play immediately. And then the second is the motivation. I like I said before, like I have a lot of traditional publisher as my friends, and as I talk with them, uh, what they said is traditional gamers don't really they just really want to have fun and play the game and not earning. And traditional gamers, a lot of them don't really like the aspect of why do you have to earn while you play. So for us in Medic Protocol, what we want to make is the first one is making easier for the Web2 gamers to actually play and have a great user experience for them. That is easy. And then the second one is the motivation for the product. So right now we are making a game that plays great but also looks great, and we are not focusing on the play to earn. So we will not market Mythic Protocol as a play to earn game, and Mythic Protocol will not be a play to earn game. But there are no, there are no hard feelings or in for or all the games that using play to earn. I think it's also a viable method. I think that's from me, the two-pronged approach from motivation and the user experience.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys, and maybe I can add as a way what we're doing. We try to go every Web2 events and expos like we was in the GameCon in Germany, make some awareness for the wake. Sorry. And beside, we will launch our games team and Epic Store too. Actually, it's about your project. Which way is your strong, your economic model or the gameplay? You should aim that way. So, as a Duake, we believe we have a good gameplay and the in-game features. So, we try to impress the Web2 players with the gameplay. So, what we're doing, we release our games Steam and Epic Store with separate servers. So, and make some strategy, take the pie from the Web 2 side, convert to the Web 3. And beside, we're working with the KOLs, influencers who has a big traction for stream. The reach is very important. Podcasts, like you mentioned, the streams is very important. If we have enough playable content, the gameplay content, I guess it will be more easy to impress these guys. I'm thinking like that until the beginning, aiming to Web 2 side is biggest reason for us actually for the project. So I'm totally agree with you guys.
I'm curious here because, I heard esports being mentioned. I heard kind of content, different types of advertising. And I'm thinking back to the conversation from last week when we were discussing something similar with an FPS crowd. And FPS has a very kind of organic lean into short form content that can be used to kind of attract gamers, right? Kind of the excitement of certain game actions kind of naturally draws in a crowd. What do you think is the right type of content for RPG that can attract the traditional crowd? And how do you get esports team excited that need a large audience for them for their business model to work out and for them to take an interest in certain games?
Well, go ahead, man.
I think honestly, RPGs are not the best kind of games for esports, to be honest. RPGs are strong on the storytelling, on making you believe that you are what you are playing, but I don't think it's a great game or kind of game for esports, to be honest.
I think it depends on the game. Obviously, an action MMO, it's not the right fit. But for an MMORPG like World of Warcraft, they've got a very robust arena system, and I think that's what we're going to be showcasing primarily in our game, and trying to push via esports tournaments is team battles. So either like 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 competitions in an instanced arena. And you just let them go at it. Last team standing gets the cake.
And I think it also depends on your definition of esports, because you could think that, for instance, speedrunning a game could be seen as esports in a sense, and therefore you can speedrun a whole game as an RPG. That happens already, actually. So it's also a little bit of a definition standard.
Very true.
Yeah, and I think we also have to separate between esports and normal PvP game, right? Because games like Diablo Immortal has this great PvP system, but it's not an esport, but it's still the PvP. And in that game we have a separate PvP progression and then separate PvE progressions, making sure that players that come for the RPG that only come for the PvE and only come for defeating the enemies won't be left out. So yeah, I think there's a separate discussion for what is PvP only and what are esports, because I think those are totally different, right?
What was the second part of the question you said, Ilya?
I started out by just kind of asking what type of content would be good to attract gamers, right? In terms of, for FPS, I was using that as an example, was, you see kill streaks, you see certain, headshots, things that kind of organically translate well to short form content, especially now that, we see, TikTok becoming kind of a content channel for games. I'm curious, what do you see as kind of the RPG answer? What is it that attracts gamers in terms of short form content?
I gotcha, and I guess it really does depend on the game, but I've seen on Reddit a couple times recently, you know, a player coming back from like a 1v3, disadvantage. So I think that's something that you could make short form content on, like a quick recovery player that's outmatched ends up winning against a larger number of players. But it is more difficult. You don't have headshots in an MMORPG arena. You don't have kill streaks. So it'll really be dependent on the game mechanics.
I think one of the greatest short form content that we can bring to the from the RPG is the builds, because like I have a lot of my friends showing their cyberpunk builds. They got this netrunner builds, which is like a god coming and killing everyone, and they also have a build where you have multiple bullets. You can actually show each builds of the game as a short form content that is really interesting for everyone. So people later in the later stage, when the game is matured, all people can actually showcase their builds through a short form content, right? So it's really interesting to see, oh, you can actually do this. How do you do that? And it will sparks discussion because you see the results right on the short form content. That's just my 2 cents.
No, I think I agree, Christian. I think I will go even further. I think any tool that we can provide to the players that help them or support them to create their own stories and define who they are in the world they're playing in is a good piece of content. If you wanna, if maybe we can create a tool that enables them to define the bio of their character prior to entering the world, the world of the game they are playing. Maybe tools to to create the whole family tree of their character. Anything that can help them see and build the role they are playing further than just the game is actually, in my book, a good piece of content and a good tool that could attract the community even prior to the game being released.
Yeah, exactly. Depends on the gameplay and your content. But uh, I know the way actually sport teams don't need us. We need the sport team. For as the way I'm thinking, like MMORPG is not best fit genre for the e-sport. You can manage some tournament about your content, but you cannot get so hype from the sport team. It's kind of impossible. I never see some MMORPG game making big hype in the e-sport. So maybe for other genres it will work, but uh, not for MMORPG. I'm thinking like that. Yeah, it's about the depends of your content. Actually, you can make what do you want, which content will get hype. Especially we have amazing skill tree, and we building like last 5 6 months. We can competitors with the Pedal Exile and provide to the people more than 30 million different combination about the skill tree. Maybe we can focus on that. So Ilya, your answer for me is like depends your game. But for the MMORPG, I'm not looking for using the esport teams. It will not work for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally agree. In the case of, for example, the Elysium, we have different experience here. We have a PvP experience, which is a battle royale inside the MMO experience. So, I think that's pretty much for us that we really want to onboard different esports teams. In fact, we've been developing different game tournaments in different countries, online and offline experience. Our current stage is not a stage that we want to share into a bigger audience. We have a lot of work ahead to developing the game, but that's pretty good experience. Just working and collaborating with different esports teams. For example, in Filipinas, we've been collaborating with a lot of people in there, developing small tournaments for our game. So we taken a little bit like this focus group that we need to improve our PvP experience. But in regards of the RPG experience, I totally agree that esports thing is going to be a little bit difficult to explore in the RPGs. But how to onboard different ways here is just yeah, PvE is one of the most the one the game mode that has most sense to explore. Even if we have, for example, in our case, like you have the chance to purchase a specific land into the Elysium multiverse, so you can just rent it in the future and let's explore. This is going to be a different experience for different people in this way. So that's the way we are exploring here. It's going to be pretty interesting in the near future about the PvE experience inside this MMO. But definitely, it's going to be hard for esports to onboard it. That's the reason we have a PvP experience separate from the MMO experience.
It's quite interesting. I'm curious, kind of digging a little bit further. For RPGs, mentioned a lot of times today. Sorry, that the progression, the story matters so much, and yet at the same time, it feels like within Web3, the lore of the game is almost feels overlooked. So I'm curious, how important do you think the lore is, and how do you build it up? And especially, given that the game takes a few years to develop, and the community starts engaging with your team, feels like almost right away. So how do you build up the lore, and how does that play into your content strategy?
I think. Oh, sorry, you first.
Oh yeah. As I mentioned earlier, it depends what kind of RPG you're building, right? Because I believe there are two kinds of RPG. The one is story driven, and the one which is more um, just based on the loot and progression, and the story is just something on the background, so everything makes sense, but it's not the core of the game, right? Um, for for example, like lore in Diablo, when the first Diablo came out, it was very simple, right? It was just a church. There was a demon on the last level of the church. You go down and go down and go down, killing monsters, and at the end there was a surprise, and that was it, right? So it depends what you want to do. Like for us, for example, we have a lore, we have a story uh, for where our characters come from, and what the world is, and to explain the architecture, everything, right, that you see. But we are not story driven per se. So it really depends what you want to build.
Yeah, about that, I think since Mythic Protocol is also an IP, I think lore is a very, very important aspect to have in the game, because lore means the IP and the logic of the game. It's like why people love Star Wars. It's also the story, but also the lore and the details about the world that makes you love the world, even you're not watching it. And in Mythic Protocol, we want to build a game with a lore so deep people can actually discuss the lore outside of the game, because you're not playing the game 24/7, but you can think about the lore and the game over time. And when you love the lore so much, you maybe like talk with other people and maybe start recommending it to other people. I think no matter what the game, maybe some games doesn't need that, but I think in Make Protocol in particular, we need the lore and the IP to encapsulate the game, so the player will also think about the game. We're not when they are not playing it. I think that's one interesting perspective to see about having a deep lore within the game.
Yeah, I think it's mandatory to build the lore, and it creates consistency, and people are even more engaged and immersed in any kind of game and in kind of experience if there is a consistency world in which they are playing. Um, in our case, I think it's also a great tool to um, engage with the community and to attract the community even before they can play anything. And even more so now that in Web3 there's a lot of demand for the whole storyline to fit with the Web3 component, whether it's NFT or GameFi or anything. So yeah, I think it's a key element. And whether or not you are a story-driven game, building a backstory for me is essential. And yeah, and will help tremendously. I think also your marketing efforts.
Yeah, I think it has to be enough for the player to believe the world. And beyond that, it's up to you, right? If you want to be a story driven or just free roaming around, it's up to you. But definitely, that's right. Like, at least the player has to believe that he's on a place and has to love the what he sees and the world around him.
Yeah, I think have a consistent lore will actually help you in developing your game, especially visuals. Like in John Wick, they have this lore about a secret, secret society, and they have this very analog stuff and very, very antique but modern also. So it will definitely help us as developers to create the visuals by having a strong lore and build the world altogether.
Did you say John Wick?
Yeah, I said John Wick. Really love it.
Great story. Yeah, what's interesting is when we released our original game, Legends of Aria, we didn't have much lore in it. It's if anything was lore related, you had to search, and into these in-game books to even find a hint of it. But moving forward with this upcoming sequel, Britaria, we've got a lot of plans to integrate more lore, and we actually do have a lot of content strategy plans to integrate this lore into our marketing efforts. Some of that will be copying some of the magic that My Pet Hooligan created. So I see one My Pet Hooligan PFP in this space right now. Essentially, I think they crushed it with creating this animated character doing facial rigging, and that created really viral content that I'd see on Twitter over the past year. And so we're going to try and create something similar, integrating our lore, and I won't give too many details, but yeah.
Awesome. This takes us to the top of the hour. It passed really quickly. I feel like there's just so much more we can discuss, and hopefully we can get this group back together and discuss some more things about RPGs. In the meantime, thank you everybody who came. Speakers, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Listeners, thank you for tuning in, and come back next week